Hello everyone, and welcome to another scrapbook layout process video where I'm going to use a brand new product called Beautiful Gallery 6x6" designer series paper. I'm going to take these out so you can have a little look at these gorgeous papers. I'm just going to single them out so you see just one each of the sheets. There are actually 4 of the same design in each of these packets. And I not only love them for this hero side, but I love them for the reverse side as well because it's got some gorgeous texture in them. You can see I've gone ahead and I've started playing around with a bit of a layout here, knowing that I want to cut these 6x6 papers down to fit my layout. And the color that I've used for the mats here is actually black, which is a 2-tone 12x12 paper. This side is the black paper, but the reverse side is a gorgeous deep grey. And I think it's going to work well with the papers that I've chosen to use from this pack. And you can also see that I have matted 2 of my photos with just a regular size. The photo mats here are 4x6 and 3x3. And then I just trim my photo holders here down by 1/4 of an inch on 2 sides so that I get a nice 1/8 of an inch border. But these 2 here have got bigger borders on them, and there is a reason for that, and I'll explain that in just a moment. So these are the gorgeous papers. You can see there are some scenic ones here. I've chosen which 3 I'm going to use for this layout. And these ones I've sort of grouped together because they have sort of a brown tone to them. And I love all of these colors. I think they're absolutely beautiful. I love neutrals and deep greens and just a softer look to these. This is another scene type paper that matches in with these ones here. You can see these are all scenery type 6x6 papers that you could use just on its own as a feature element on a 12x12 layout, or on a 6x8 or 6x6 sort of layout as well, or even 8.5x11. I haven't done any 8.5x11 scrapbooking for a while, and I must get back to it. But I love the scenes in these, and I'm going to flip these over in a moment and show you what's on the reverse side of them. These ones here are more of a floral look, and they're perfect for cards, but there is no reason why you can't use these on scrapbook layouts. There's this gorgeous one here, which is another scenic type one, and this one, which is sort of like a standalone one, sort of like this one with a bit of a pattern on it. So there are 12 different designs in this pack. But if I turn these over, you can see some gorgeous texture coming through. This makes it quite a versatile pack. Some of them have more of a vintage type print to them. And this one here has a cityscape type feel to it. I'm just trying to find this one here. So you could put these 2 together, no problem at all. And that's sort of what I do when I'm looking at papers. They might have a very distinctive design like this that you might want to use on one layout, but you wouldn't necessarily need to use it on multiple layouts. But if I turn that over, there's a gorgeous rustic sort of look here. The texture in this has me very excited for this pack. There's even a floral element here, another damask type print. I love the texture on this, and here's a gorgeous tree scene. Now, I've chosen just 3 6x6 papers to make my layout. So I'm going to bring in the 3 that I have chosen. I'm just going to collapse all this down. I'm just going to reset this just a little bit. This one is going to overlap somewhat. And this one, there's a perfect little nesting spot for that. So the 3 papers that I've chosen are this one, and this one. And when you look at that, you might be thinking, how am I going to pull this together for a scrapbook layout? Well, I picked these 3 mainly because I love this scene here. It's a little bit reminiscent of a beach not far away from me where yachts and things are harboured. So that's my main piece. And then I started turning over the papers. I love this color with this, and I love the wash of this one here. So I think these 3 go together really nicely. So what I'm going to do is cut these down to a pretty standard formula. I'm just going to lay this down so you can see when I cut this one, I'm going to be mindful of how I cut it, because I'm going to cut this into a 4-inch piece. So I could cut my 4 inches here and have a little bit of this scene, or I could cut my 4 inches from this end and have this part of my scene here. So that's something that you want to bear in mind when you're using this type of paper on a scrapbook layout. For this one here, if I was using this behind here, I would probably cut my 4 inches down like this so that the house remained intact, and then I'd be able to use this on the other side. But I don't have to worry too much with this one or this one, because cutting my 4-inch strips here, I'm going to then use the leftover 2 by 6 inch pieces onto this left side. So I'm going to trim those down. My first decision, because I know I want a piece coming out this way here. So probably around this much. I want some of this water in this. If I just have this bit here, it's not as clear as having the yacht that's here. So I'm going to cut my 4 inches from this end and keep my 2 inches for over the other side. So that's going to go here. And that's sort of like my hero piece. And I am going to get back to this additional section here to show you what I'm going to do with that. Now, this piece here has a definite orientation. So I know that I'm going to put another 4 by 2 inch piece under here and another 4 by 2 inch piece up the top here. So I want to pick which way I'm going to cut this one so that this definite orientation matches on the left side. So this one is the one I'm going to put at the top here. I think it's going to balance off quite nicely. I might turn this one around. Let me have a look. I'm just going to have a little play with this and see what I decide to do. Whether or not I have the heaviest part here, or I might change it around the other way. Because to me, this could be a little bit of a grey sky sort of effect at the top here. And then this would represent sort of like beach at the bottom. I think I like this one at the top. So I'm going to cut this one. So I can have my 4 by 6 inch piece at the top. And then I'm going to cut this one so that I've got at the bottom here. And that's how I'm going to lay this side out. And then I've got these strips from the other side, because I want these pieces sort of coming out of the top here. I might bring this one in just a little bit more like that. I'm going to put the darkest piece at the top so more of this light shows down the bottom. So now with these pieces that I'm going to have going across the top, I want to make sure that I don't cut this so it's this way. So let me cut this in half at 3 inches. And do the same for these other 2 pieces. So now I've got a little bit of a boat seam that comes from the end of this. That will probably go at the bottom here, and then I'll put that matching one at the top. I'm going to put the heaviest piece on the outside here, which is this one here with the depth of the colour. And then I'm going to finish this off with this piece here coming in like that. I actually quite like the look of this. I've got room to put my title and my journaling and to add in some decorative elements. So I'm going to go away. I'm going to adhere the base piece of this down, but I do want to bring something in from this collection to add to these little corner sections. Now, there are a couple of stamp sets that go with this suite, the Gallery Blooms and the Beautiful Motifs. This has some great little texture pieces here, so I'm thinking I might do some stamping in the background with this one. It's not a very big stamp, but I know it's going to work quite well. But as always, I'm going to test it on a piece of scrap paper first before I start putting that on there, so I can decide what colour I'm going to do with that. I just need to put that onto a block. And because this is a new stamp, I need to season it, because there is a little bit of finishing on these from the production. So you want to wipe that off so that you get a nice image. And I'll probably play around with first and second generation ink. Now, with the Gallery Blooms, I'm not going to use any of these floral stamps, but I'm thinking I might bring in some of the coordinating dies, because there's some gorgeous dies in here. But I'm not sure if I'm going to use this on this particular layout as such. Beautiful Motifs dies, and there's something a little bit special about these 2 here. Actually, there's something special about all of them. I'm going to bring them in and show you. I've just done a little bit of a test, just die cutting some of them, but you can see these partially die cut into pieces. They don't go all the way through, and that allows you to tuck elements underneath, or you can just use it like this onto your project and lift these little pieces up with dimensionals. So that's that one here. I think I'm going to use that on the corners of my mats so I can tuck my photo in. And that's why I've cut my mats a little bit larger. So you can see this one here, it does exactly the same thing where you can cut into your piece of paper. I love how this works. It's so clever. And the same thing happens with this leaf element here. So this is just a panel that I've cut with white, and it's just done partial die cutting, but it does imprint or partially cut these other little pieces so that it gives the right texture, so you can tell what it is. I'm going to hold this up to the camera a little bit more so you can see how these leaf sections here come away from the paper, but they're still anchored to the piece that you're cutting from. And then you get all these gorgeous little markings to give you added texture to that. So, and that's that piece there. I'm thinking I'm going to bring in some of these dandelion type pieces. They're so delicate. I haven't pushed all of them out here. Let me just get rid of that piece so that you can see. That's this one here. So this is a full cut, unlike these three ones here that do the partial cutting. And then there's this gorgeous sprig of leaves here. So I think they're going to work really nicely to dress up my layouts here. I'm going to bring in my die cutting machine and show you exactly how I'm going to cut these edges of the photo mats that I've got here. I'm just going to put all these pieces aside, and hopefully my desk won't wobble too much. I'm going to move this away. So I know I want to put one in the bottom left corner of this one and the top corner of this one here. So just move this away as well. Bring in my die cutting machine. Now these are a little bit too wide to put through with my mini, so I'm just going to use my large one here, and I am going to use a little bit of tape just to hold this in place because I don't want it to move. So this is going right down in the corner, so line that up so the outside pieces of this die are just touching the edges of my photo mat. And then I'm going to anchor this in place if I don't move it. And I am cutting this into the dark grey side, which is the reverse of this black. So I'm just going to wind this through and hope that my desk doesn't wobble too much for you. But I did want to show you on camera exactly how this works. It's very exciting. I love this die, and this has sort of only just been released with the new annual catalogue that started in May. Now I have come very close to this so that I can snip away this little corner just to give it a little bit more of a decorative edge. And that just softens the edge of that up nicely. I was almost too close to this piece, but I think that's worked beautifully. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing for this one here. So edge to edge here, close as I can get it for these outside pieces. Close enough is, I think, going to be good enough for this because I'll be able to trim that little bit away if it doesn't cut through with the die. I'll be able to use my scissors for that. So I've got that through my machine. I'm just going to gently peel this away. You always want to make sure that you peel the tape back on itself. I did have to put a little piece here just to hold it in place. Now, the other thing you want to be careful of is when you remove this. So I am just going to just gently poke through these little holes here to release the paper from the die. And I've got this gorgeous look here. I absolutely love how this works. Now, I'm using this on a pretty much an outdoor type feel, but it still has a vintage feel to it. And I think this will be wonderful for heritage photos and also for weddings. So I'm just trimming off the edge there. Just get rid of my pieces, and then I'm going to show you how this is going to work. Things have moved around a little bit here, but I think you'll get the idea. So in this one, I'm going to slip my photo into this corner here. And I've got a little bit more of an edge on here. So I am going to adhere this photo holder, and then I'm going to trim away these two edges. I'm not going to trim anything away from this one, but I want this top and left piece to be the same width as what I've got on this one. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to slide my photo underneath, and I can flick that little bit over the corner. Now, I know these are all moving around a little bit, and I will fix this. But you're better off if you're doing something like this to make your mat slightly bigger so you can always trim it down later. So what I'm going to do is trim the edge off the right side and across the bottom. But I love how this looks. Now these pieces I am going to move along a little bit more so you get that nice edge to it. And what I think I'm going to do is just round the corners here so it's not quite a straight cut. So I'm just going to get my scissors and just do a gentle little curve into that decorative piece. So the next thing I need to do before I do any adhering is decide where these pieces are going to go. So I'm just going to get out some copy paper. I'm going to move this one aside. I'll practice for this side first. And I'm thinking with the greys and the browns, I might bring in a little bit of the brown. So I'm going to see how that looks first. Now there are a lot of colours that coordinate with these papers. So I've got crumb cake here. And I'm just going to stamp a first, although I haven't quite inked it up enough. And I've got a little bubble under here. I don't know if you can pick that up on camera. So I'm just going to stamp off a few times and reapply this to the block. It's a fairly solid stamp, so maybe I need to put some foam underneath this. So I'm going to try flipping my Versamat over. Now you can use the Stampin' Foam from Stampin' Up. I just don't have that yet, so I'm just going to use the other side of my Versamat. And I've got a much better impression now. So I'm going to have a look at what these two colours look like. I'm not going to stamp this quite so hard this time because I want to see if I can get a little bit more depth. And then I'm going to bring this under here to see if I like the look of the crumb cake. I think that's adding a nice touch to this, but I do want to try it with a grey. I'm going to bring in grey granite. I might try basic grey as well. Just put that one aside. So I'm going to try first, then second is a bit of a brown grey, and I think that might work even better than the crumb cake. So let me pick this up, put this down. I like the grey up against here. I'm not sure about it up against this one. That works really well, I think. I think that's better to have second generation of this one, which gives a light brown grey, than having the crumb cake. So I'm going to leave my piece of paper here so that I can stamp off. And I want to have some in this area up here. So I'm not adhering anything down yet. But what I need to do is flip this Versamat over so that I can stamp direct onto my page. So I'm going to stamp off and then up in this area here. I really like how that looks. I'm going to do the same thing coming out this side. And put this here and spread these out again for a little look. I want to do this before I adhere everything down. So that's going to come up a little bit and that will come over slightly. And that's sort of the look I'm going for. I'm going to actually do some off the edge here. I'm just going to bring my paper over just a little bit. I can actually turn this around so that it's not all exactly the same. I'll do that for down the bottom here. So it's somewhere around here. This one I'm going to turn around and have it so that it comes out this side. So let me dry fit this again just to see how this is all lining up. I think it's nice to be able to add just a little bit of texture to the background. So this one I haven't got far enough along. I am going to line these up so that they look like they're running all the way through. I'm spreading them out a bit more. So I need to do some more stamping up the top here. Move this one aside a little bit and stamp this off to the right somewhat. No one's going to see that there is that piece there. And then this one needs to come out a little bit from this side. And I think I might add to this one here as well. Just put that further up there. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the right side. Bring this back in, so I know I want some in this section here. So once you've made the decision on where everything is going to go, it sort of comes along quite quickly. I'm not worried about masking off the edge here. I do want it coming down in between this bit. So let me do a quick dry fit here as well. That's going to hide this section, and then this is going to come down. So I've just got the 3 there. I might put another one down in this corner. I'm going to have that so that it's coming off the edge of the white. So I need to adhere my photo placeholders here. Now these have been trimmed down a little bit because I kept the photo mats as true size. I've trimmed all my photo holders down, as I said. And then when I go to put my photos on here, I'm going to trim those down as well so that I get a little white mat around those. So they'll effectively be double matted by the time my photos go on. I'm just wondering, do I need to put another one here? Possibly. Let's have a go at that. I'm just going to put another one down in that section. I love the texture that this brings. I'll probably do some splatters as well. So I might do those before I actually adhere anything for a change, so I don't have to mask everything off. This looks like a bit of a hot mess, but I think you'll agree it'll add just the right amount to it. And this grey granite, I think, is the perfect choice because you can see it is a browny grey. So it's going to tie in the greys and the browns that I've got in my papers and in my cardstock. So I'm going to bring out my splatter box, and I do have a piece of cardboard that I put up the back. So try and help minimize the mess. Now I've got my little silicone mat here. So I am just going to put some ink on this, and rather than splattering straight away onto my pages, I want to make sure that it's going to give me the color that I want. I'm just going to squeeze some water onto this from my water brush. I might not need quite so much. And then I'm going to bring in my fan brush and mix this up. Now I can't actually see what's happening on this one, so that's why I need to do a little bit of a test. And I think that's going to work quite nicely. I'm just going to give it a second to dry. And I love the look of that. Bring my pages in and do a splatter here. Picking this up as I go. So wherever I've got this sort of section here, I'm just going to do some splatters for that. And you don't need much ink when you're watering things down a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing for the right page, and I should have enough here. And using a fan brush really does help spread the splatters out, and I'm getting a nice consistency. And I'm just tapping this with my hand. I'm going to use most of this up here before I have to clean everything off. Just going to bring my left side in so I can see with what I have left here if I can just add a few more in that section. So I just need to let that dry for a moment, and then I'll adhere my other pieces down, and then I'm going to get to the fun part of the embellishments. I've adhered all the pieces down here, and you can see I have inked around the edges of this, and I did that off camera. I just did it with the blending tool that I've got here, and I'm using basic grey just to go around the edges. It gave a little bit more depth to the pieces than what grey granite would have done, and it ties in the colour with this reverse side of the black two-tone cardstock. So I've gone ahead and I've just played around with the title here. The photos that I'm going to put on here are with a friend that I used to go walking down on the beach quite a bit, and we used to go down to the dog beach all the time together. So they're the photos that are going to go on here, and it was quite a peaceful place to go to. So that's going to be my title for this. And what I wanted to show you was that I have put these pieces here up onto dimensionals. So this one here, I haven't removed the adhesive back here so that I can still slide my photo in. And I thought that created just a nice look, just to give it a bit more dimension. What I am going to do once I've done a little bit of inking on this is adhere these pieces down to the page. Actually, I'll do that now on camera. with you. So I'm just going to get my glue here and just go underneath these pieces here with just a little bit of glue so that the frame, as it was, or the mat, is direct to the page, and that will help pronounce these bits and they'll stand up just a little bit more. So a tiny little bit of glue is all that's needed just to adhere those down to the page, and you can see that helps lift those pieces here. Now you might notice I've done a little bit of treatment on this piece here, and I'm going to do that to the right one as well. Once I've got this down, I may as well do all of these in one go. Now some of these I've put up on double dimensionals because I wanted them to just sit up just a little bit more. And I was just finding that these decorative edges that I've got here were getting just a little bit lost. So that's why I've put them up on dimensionals, and I've also inked them a little bit with some white pigment ink. Now I've got the old Close to My Heart ink pad here, but Stampin' Up do have a white pigment ink. Now because I've got this up on dimensionals, it's a little bit easier to just get to the pieces that I want to stand out, and they're the decorative pieces here. So it's just a quick little treatment. Now white pigment ink does take a little bit longer to dry, so that's just something that you want to bear in mind when you're working on a piece. I think that adds just the right touch here. Now this one I did a little time ago, and that has dried back a little bit. So I'm going to go back in and add some more ink to this. And I will do the same thing over here as well with this piece. But it does help make this gorgeous decorative element stand out a little bit more. As I said earlier, this would make a great vintage piece here, and that's sort of the feeling of these papers and everything. But it's just going to suit the walks that I had with my friend down at the beach so well. And for this title, I've used the mini alphabet dies. And then I'm going to bring in some elements that I've die cut from the beautiful motif dies. Now, this color here is actually mist, so I've used the light side of that. That's from Close to My Heart. I haven't got full sheets of cloud cover yet, and this is pretty close, so I thought that that would work quite well. And I'm just going to drape these around in certain areas. So I'm just fussing around with these just a little bit to work out where I'm going to put them. I think one of these would look rather cute sticking up just from underneath this area here. I'm going to tuck it underneath the photo. Actually, what I'm going to do is just break that off to make it easier for myself. And then maybe one more leaf element. The delicateness of these is absolutely beautiful, and I think it just adds a gorgeous touch to the page. So I'm going to adhere those down, and then I'm going to finish it off with some of these pressed flower motifs. Now this is in the same Sweet collection, so they will work quite well. They're sort of a brass tone, but I think it's going to work quite well on these pages. If I can get them out of the packaging, I'm just going to hold those up against here, and it's bringing in some tones from the papers that I've chosen. They're not too high. There is a little bit of height to these, but it's not very high, and I've got this foam here, so I'm thinking this is all going to work really well. So I'm going to adhere these down, and then if you hang around, I'll have a couple of cards to show you as well that I've made with this collection. I really love the papers, the softness and the artistry with them, and these gorgeous dies as well. So this is quite an elegant type page, and I am going to put beach photos on here of an overcast day, so I think it's going to work quite well. I have my finished layout all adhered, and I love how this has turned out. Now I was going to build this onto basic white 12 by 12 because I think that would be quite nice with these papers, but because I'm doing these up as kits for some ladies or a training session, I didn't have enough of the basic white 12 by 12 for everybody, so I have built them onto white willow, and it still looks fabulous. And I think that's because there's a bit of texture in the background here with this stamp set, and also the splatters with the brush here. I think that just ties everything in beautifully. I'm going to bring in the cards now because I promised to share those with you, but I just can't get over the delicateness of this and the detail that is available with this die set. Also the ferns and the dandelions. The attention to detail for this set is absolutely beautiful. Now with these cards, you might have seen these on my live video that I just did the other weekend where I did sort of a show and tell on everything that I have purchased so far with the annual catalogue and the online release that came out in May. If you want to go back and watch that video, I will put a link to it if you've missed it. I just go through the products and what I'm going to use things for and give you alternate suggestions and other ideas on some of the products rather than using them for their specific designs. So you may have seen these cards. Now, heads up on that live video. I thought I was getting everything right with it, but it recorded sideways. Everything was showing up fine when I put it up in my mount, and I got down and I pressed record, and the live stream went from the right orientation to this orientation. If you watch it on a device though, you can lock your screen so that you can rotate it and you'll be able to view it in the right direction. So I do apologize for that. I'll have to try and work out how that happened for next time, because I might do a few more lives. I'm not too sure. It does save a lot of time when it comes to editing. With process videos like this though, it's sort of better to do this for me and record it and edit out the pieces that you don't necessarily need to see. So this is the card where I have used the die that cuts out all of these 3 sections in one go, and I've popped up the outside with foam, and I've used the foam adhesive strips so that it's nice and supported all the way around, and on the inside here there's no sort of bending at all with this. And then the middle piece is just perfectly flat to the card base. The card base is Secret C A4 cardstock, so it's nice and sturdy, and then the sentiment is stamped with the Secret C ink and the Secret C Stampin' Up markers. I've just used the bullet tip to do the outline around there, and the offcut piece comes to the inside just to tie it all in from the front of the card. A little bit of linen thread, and there are those gorgeous little flower motif embellishments. I absolutely love those. They're nice and brassy and a good colour with this suite. So these other 2, I have used the stamp set and the dies from this beautiful motifs. So I'm just going to get those out so you can have a look. This is a belly band just for that one, and I've put the belly band through, and also this piece here with the damask embossing folder. Just trying to get this out here so I can show you. So you can see that's brought up some beautiful texture to this, and I've used the dandelion die for the outside piece here. On the inside piece here, I have used the stamp from the Gallery of Blooms set, and I've gone around the edges of this mat with this stamp here, just using the edge of it just to go around and create a nice little framing for this. And if you're wondering what the color of this cardstock is here, it's actually black, but it's the reverse side because black is now two-toned, so you get a beautiful charcoal color, so it's a deep gray, and I really love how that looks. And then I have simply cut apart a 6x6 sheet here to create a scene to go across, so that when this stands up, you've got the lovely scene and you've got an area over here to write your message. And then I've done some stamping with that dandelion stamp here, just in stamped off or second generation color for this side. So I love how this looks, and this is a new in color as well. This is Cloud Cover, and I've used the A4 cardstock for that because it is nice and thick and it bears up really well, especially when you're doing sort of dimensional cards. Now this one here I absolutely loved creating, and it's probably my favorite die in this set. This has got quite a bit of texture to it and a few steps to it. The front of the card has been run through the embossing folder, the damask embossing folder, but I've only done the front section. I haven't done the back section at all. And the card base here is Secret C. I've cut a panel. This is actually missed because I didn't have enough cloud cover to do that. I've since got an order, and cloud cover would work really well. You can see it's a very close color match here. I've die cut the leaf element, this one here, here into the panel. I have popped some of these areas up with black dimensionals so that you can't see the adhesive at all. When you do it with white and it's onto a dark card base, it does stand out. So the black dimensionals are fabulous for that. You can see I've gone to town with the splattering of ink, and I've also done a little bit of watercoloring with a round tip with a fine tip paintbrush. So I've used this one here. It's got a fairly fine tip to it so that I could just do some details along the stem and along the base of the leaves here. And then I've added Wink of Stella, so I'm hoping the shine is picking up there. Curling these back a little bit just gives an extra bit of dimension. Now this will be a card that I will hand gift just because of that detail, and I've also rolled back one of the corners and I've gone around the edges of this with the Secret C Stampin' Up marker with the bullet tip, and on the inside it's just a very simple greeting on the inside with an offcut piece from the mist here. So they are all the projects that I have made for an upcoming workshop for a training day for some demonstrators. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Happy crafting and bye for now.